It looks like a war zone here. Hey, Kurt Curtis coming at you from the Full Octane Garage, and today we're going to have adventures with trailers. We decided we were going to do an upgrade on a trailer. We actually had a really nice, we still have a really nice black 18-foot V-nose steel-based trailer. We decided that we wanted a lighter trailer because we pull a pretty heavy car. We have the GMC diesel Denali to pull it with, and so we came across an aluminum trailer and we thought, hey, let's go ahead and get an aluminum trailer. It'd be really cool. Of course, we didn't do a lot of research, and we probably should have, and we ended up with this 20-foot aluminum trailer. And when we got it home, we realized that we probably should have looked a little bit closer. I've never had a trailer with FRP siding. That's fiberglass reinforced panels. The fiberglass reinforced panels, if you don't maintain them properly, they will get moisture inside because it's basically a piece of plywood sandwiched in between two pieces of fiberglass. And what they'll do is it'll swell, it will rot, and it will become very unstable. So I looked around the whole trailer when I got it. It was a really, really good deal. So I'm like, I'm going to jump on this trailer. I'm going to go ahead and buy it. It's aluminum chassis. It's got torsion axles, brand new tires. What's not to love about it? I knew it had a little bit of a roof leak, and that was easy to fix. Then I got it home and I realized that around the side door it was flexing quite a bit. So I started peeling it back a little bit and started realizing that, oh my gosh, we got an FRP trailer and it has some rotten plywood inside. So think of a boat. When a boat's fiberglass, some older boats have wood inside, and when the fiberglass gets moisture inside of it, then you find that you have wood swelling and wood rot. Well, that's exactly what we have. So let's look around the trailer a little bit and show you what we're doing and to correct that problem. It's not as big of a problem as we thought to repair, but we'll get to it now. Okay, this is the trailer. It's a nice Trailer World aluminum trailer. It's a late 2000 type trailer, so it's a little bit old. But what's really cool is if you look down the sides, there is no panels riveted together or seam sealed together, no aluminum panels. It's one big sheet of fiberglass. And this side was that way until you start looking around where the door is, and you'll notice that it was cracked up here. And it's really loose now because we've actually removed the inner panel of wood. We took all of these hex head screws, we unscrewed them. It was a bit of a pain because you had to clamp them with pliers on the inside. We've gone through, we've taken all of the inner wood off, peeled it away from this outer fiberglass skin, and you will see all of the rotten wood sitting down here that we've peeled out, and it was just came out very, very in bits and pieces. It looks like a war zone here. There was a lot of moisture in it, so we had to let it sit and dry for a few days. The rest of the trailer is actually really nice. I mean, you've got these fiberglass walls. They're very sturdy. You have these screwed nutserts all the way around the top. It's got a nice aluminum frame. The actual plywood, the way these trailers are built is you have this thin piece of fiberglass skin, and this is what we peeled off of the inside. We're going to actually sand all that down or reapply it to the inside of the trailer. So we peeled that skin back. We cut a line just deep enough to not penetrate the outside of the trailer. We took all the screws out of the top, and then we peeled back the wood off of the outer skin. You'll see this outer skin is very thin. We took a 40 grit floppy wheel sanding disc and we cleaned all the plywood and the glue off of it. We still got a little bit of cleanup down here to do. We took the wood off all the way from the bottom to the top because it needs to be rigid from the top down to the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and replace a section from somewhere about halfway across the door over to here, which is about 3 feet, all the way down to the bottom of the trailer. And then once that is bonded, we're going to use some Loctite 3X panel adhesive. It has a operating temperature of up to 160 degrees, so I think we should be covered there. What we're going to do is once we put that and bond it back to this material, I'm going to come back with some epoxy resin with some fillet, which is basically ground up fiberglass, and we're going to apply that to the seam to bond the two pieces of plywood together, and then we're going to do a little filler up in here to fill that spot, and then we'll clean all of the inside panels. We'll put some of the panel adhesive. It comes in like a huge caulking tube, and then we'll use a very thin V trowel and spread it. And we'll apply that back to the inside and then re-drill all the holes through the plywood. And the real key to this is trying to preserve the outside panel as much as you can, because it knows where all of your holes are supposed to be drilled for your door. So when I put this new piece of plywood in here, which is 1/2 inch smooth faced plywood, we're going to be able to drill all of the original holes in the original locations, so the door, which is in really good shape, will be able to go right back in the original spot. The second thing we're going to do to this trailer is we have a leaky skylight. So this skylight is actually going to be removed, and we're going to fill in the hole, and up in the front corner and the rear corner we're going to put side trailer vents, and that's so that this trailer, it's actually only a 6 foot tall trailer, so that it'll fit in my garage. The next thing we're going to do as an upgrade on is the floor. The floor has these really nice diamond plate strips down the center all the way up. We've got a winch. What we're going to do is we're going to clean up the floor a bit, and we're going to spray some bed liner down, which is Raptor bed liner. We're going to spray it on the floor, not on the aluminum. We're going to mask the aluminum off, and then we're going to come up on the sides probably 6 to 12 inches, probably about the same height as the wheel well, so that the bed liner has a totally encapsulated area. We have, as you can see, we've already upgraded brakes. We put 4 complete new drums on. So those are totally new. They weren't in horrible shape, but they did have some grease in there, and we need to repack the bearings. And the other thing we have is tie downs. The tie downs in the front are not very far forward, so we're going to put 2 more tie downs in the far front, because we have a very long car and we want to be able to tie that thing down. But the rest of the trailer is in really nice shape for an older trailer. It weighs about 1,000 pounds less than my existing trailer, so it's going to be a whole lot nicer pulling down the road, especially with the torsion axles. Now what we'll do is we'll cut some plywood, get it bonded in there, and then come back and show you what it looks like when it's finished. You hear me talk about the 40 grit floppy disk, and this is basically a Harbor Freight angle grinder. And what I've done is bought some 40 grit. I also buy some 80 grit floppy sanding disc, and these are fantastic for quick sanding, quick removal of material. This is by Chicago Electric. These are probably 30 bucks. Sanding discs are, I don't know, $3 or $4 a piece. But when you hear me talking about the angle grinder, this is with a floppy sanding disc. This is what I'm talking about, and this will knock out material in no time. So you got to be really careful not to go too fast, especially with a 40 grit. But this is going to be your friend. The other tools you're going to need for this is a circular saw and a jigsaw. Did I mention you're going to need a lot of clamps? I mean a lot of clamps, and some extra pieces of board to go on the both sides for clamping the outside fiberglass lining to the inner panel. Did I mention you're going to need a lot of clamps? Also a drill and some wood drill screws with some washers I would suggest pre-drilling any of your wood panels that you're going to have to apply to the outside of the trailer, because they won't pull as tight if you don't pre-drill the outer edge. Don't pre-drill the inside. The inside will just catch automatically. Okay, we've been working a few days on replacing the wood panels in the FRP trailer. Made a lot of progress. What we did is we did the right-hand side first, which is over here, and we went through and we basically did half of it at a time. So we split the door seam in the middle, went through and put a whole new panel on all the way to the floor, all the way to the bottom. So if you look down, it goes all the way down, and that's going to bolt into the bottom of the frame, and this bolts into the roof when it's all finished. There was one piece in here that was just small. I made a filler panel, epoxied it in with some resin with a little bit of fillet. What we're using is the West Systems 105 resin with the West System 205 fast hardener. Fast isn't really fast, but it's faster than slow. And then we're using some of the West Systems 404 high density adhesive filler. And what that does is that makes it's basically just a bunch of ground fiberglass, as you see. And what that does is you mix that in with your mixed resin and hardener, and it makes it almost, you can get it to like a peanut butter consistency, so it sticks and holds up well. This is the leftover cup from last night that I did. You can see that it's all hardened now, but that's pretty much what it is. It doesn't stick to plastic very well, so this cup could be reusable. Now the board we did last night, we did this in two sections, as we said. So this is the one that we just took the clamps off of. We screwed it in at the top. We clamped it on the sides here. And from the outside, we actually drilled holes from the outside with a long piece of wood. So we had this strip here, and we put it on the outside, and we screwed it in to hold the face of the board up to the inside of the wood. So it pulled the outside face tight while the glue set. As you see, that one goes all the way down and all the way up. Now we go all the way across. It's nice and solid now. It's going to be a good structural support for my metal and my doors. Now we've still got a lot of cracks up here to deal with, so what we're going to be doing is grinding all of these cracked gel coats out and reapplying some of that fiberglass with some filler in there. Remember, these aren't structural up here. These are more cosmetic and protecting it from the elements, so we want to make sure none of this wood gets wet again. What we did, where we had gaps here, you can see we started filling a little bit here last night, but there's this gap. And what we do is we take some of the West Systems epoxy mixed up without the filler, and we wet all this down with fiberglass resin to make a good surface to stick to. We're going to work on that today. So we're going to mix some of that stuff up. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fill all of this in, lay it flat, and it's going to make these two pieces of wood almost become one. It makes them very structural. We're going to do the same thing over top of the door. It's probably not a bad idea to leave a little bit more gap than I did, because then you would have a little bit more. It's a little hard to stuff the resin with the fillet in there. Then the next phase after this all is done, we have the inner panels that we removed. We still need to sand those down, get all the plywood off so that they'll lay flat. And then we're going to take what we used on this, probably all over the trailer here. We used the Loctite 3X Proline Premium Adhesive, and we did that on the whole wood panel. We used a small notch trowel to make a notch of the glue. So what we'll do is we'll put a bunch of that adhesive on here, we'll put a notch trowel and get a very thin coat all over the whole board. We'll come back with that panel, we'll apply it to the wall. They also make an 8X adhesive, and we may do the 8X adhesive because it has a little less working time and it's more of a fast grip. If
this doesn't work out well. And then what we'll do is, again, to get some shorter screws so they don't go through the exterior wall, and we'll screw these panels tight to the wall so that you don't have any air pockets. So the next thing we're going to do right now is we're going to mix up a new batch of fiberglass with some fillet in it, and we're going to go ahead and fill that seam all the way over there and let that dry. We've also worked on the aluminum on the outside of the trailer. There's a product called aluminum wheel cleaner that's an acid based, and what you do is you spray it on the aluminum. You see a bunch of our aluminum on the trailer looks a bit oxidized. I'll show some examples of what it looks like when we finish it. That will be another episode, but we'll get all this aluminum looking new. And I think I mentioned also we're going to be painting this trailer black, so we're going to have a little bit of body work. When I reapplied the outer skin, you can see at an angle it has some highs and lows a little bit from when I was peeling the fiberglass off of the wood. So we're going to take a longboard pneumatic sander and flatten all of this out and do a little skim coat of filler if we need to, and get this thing looking really good. Hopefully the door will go back in maybe later today or tomorrow. So come back for the next episode and we'll have more progress.
Thanks for joining us today at the Full Octane Garage. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you liked what you saw, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Also subscribe to our channel and like us on Facebook. Also, we'd love to have some feedback on what you like, what you don't like, and things you'd like to see in the future. So leave us some comments.